Metallica has been together, or me and James and Metallica have been together for 10 years in early October. 10 fucking years. That's a lot. I mean, it's been 8 years since the first record, but it's been 10 years since me and James started Metallica. That's a long fucking time.
Isn't it?
No, I just think a lot of people...
you just don't think about it.
No, I think a lot of people still think of Metallica like as a baby band, or as, you know...
Officially you have four albums, and this is the fifth one.
So, I don't know, I guess a lot of the bands... I also thought the other day that this album's going to come out in early August. That's exactly 3 years since Justice came out. Most bands put out fucking albums, you know, every year or two. We put one out every 3 years, but, you know, whatever works, you know.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, the thing you will have to go through, as I was saying before, I don't know what the album sounds like. You have to go through songs. A bit of information about them. I mean, all I know is what I read in Kerrang, but...
Copy it, you know?
Copy it, okay.
I don't know. What do the songs sound like? They sound like Metallica. It's weird, because obviously I've done a few interviews now in the last month or two, and I'll sit and say in an interview, you know, songs are short, and Bob Rock's producing them, and you know, blah, 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 and I sit and I go... God, I wonder what people that read that are gonna think, and then it's like.
Well, some people might be shocked.
Well, yeah, but the bottom line, which I'm trying to get to the point here, is that it's like when I play it for people, it's like people go, "That's just Metallica." It's like it's heavier than shit. It's just
shit.
No, it's just it's got these really big James Hetfield guitar riffs that are just not as polluted with all these. It's like you take a big riff, and instead of polluting it with all these other little bits, then you just let the riff speak for itself and let that riff carry the whole song. And it's like I've said countless times in the past, we would take a big riff and we would take another big riff and we'd take a third big riff and we'd put them all together, and they'd go from here to here to here to here, and it'd be all over the place. And it's like this time around, it's like, here's the riff of life, and fucking, now we're just gonna have a 4-minute song that deals with this riff. And you take this riff, you have a verse, you have a chorus, you fucking, you know, have a guitar solo. It's like, end of story. And it's like, at the same time, the drums kind of just, I don't know, I just really, again, you know, the whole thing with my drumming and how upfront it was, and how my drumming was so progressive and all over the place. I just got really, really bored with that. Like about halfway through the last tour, you know, where I don't know, just a lot of that stuff off Justice just didn't work well in a live situation. You'd sit there up on stage and you'd play like And Justice for All or fucking Eye of the Beholder or something, and it's like, in order for us to give our best performances, we have to get a lot of energy back from the crowd. And we're sitting there playing these 10-minute songs that are just so all over the place that it's very difficult for you to get into, because you have to keep thinking about where you're playing and what else you have to go to, you know, what other new drum beat you have to go into. Then you sit there and you don't really project out into the audience because you're thinking about what you're playing, and because they don't get anything from you, then you don't get anything back from them, and it's like the whole thing just goes... A
vicious circle.
Yeah, it just goes, the whole thing just kind of falls flat on its face. So, and it just seemed like you might have read, it just, when we would get to songs like For Whom the Bell Tolls, or Creeping Death, or Seek and Destroy, or Harvester of Sorrow, the songs that had like this kind of groove thing more, that the whole thing would like lift up, you know, the whole vibe in the arenas. And it's like, I think I started realizing that the difference between, like I was telling you earlier about playing with your body and playing with your mind, is something that really makes a big difference in how it comes across. And I started getting way more into trying to play with my body and just kind of let things groove along, instead of sitting, always thinking about what I had to do, and always just playing with my mind, basically. So that was the kind of drumming style that I kind of threw into to the way, you know, the big riffs and stuff. So it's like, now it's like, here's a great big riff, and it's just kind of me in the background, just kind of laying down and almost kind of like AC/DC kind of groove or something like that. I mean, it doesn't sound like AC/DC, but AC/DC is the best example I can use of a band that just kind of, where the drummer kind of swings more in the background and the riffs do the talking. But the bottom line, it still sounds like Metallica. No matter what I say to people, as soon as I put it in for the few people that heard it, it's like, what's everybody so concerned about? That's just fucking Metallica.
Yeah, it's like, nothing to worry about. It's just maybe you.
No, but sometimes I've done a couple of interviews where it's like, there was an interview I did with Raw magazine where it was like, Bob Rock and money and you guys are so big now and commercials. It's like, fuck, relax. It's like, this is just us doing something that's fresh and just getting bored with what we've done before. And Metallica has always been about not limiting ourselves to anything specific and just going in whatever direction our fucking instincts takes us. And this is what seemed right for now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but also, I mean, the only problem could be like you having to switch from one attitude to the other. When you go from the old songs to the new, the long songs to the new one.
But we can also decide not to play the long songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's our show. We can do whatever the fuck we want. I mean, I'm talking about songs like, let's put it this way. Songs like And Justice for All and Eye of the Beholder. And, I mean, don't expect to fucking hear them again live for a while. Because I think we really got...
You're a little bored with it.
Well, we got very bored and pissed off with playing them. And it's like, look, I don't like being much of a, without sounding snobby about it, I don't like to be much of a crowd pleaser because we've always done things our way. But obviously, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Creeping Death, Seek and Destroy, Four Horsemen, I mean, all those songs, they're part of the whole thing. And it's like, but those also
they will always be there.
Yeah, but those are also songs that are fun to play. I mean, I still, For Whom the Bell Tolls is probably one of my 2 or 3 favorite songs to play live. So Seek and Destroy. There's just this feeling there. And so I just remember some nights where we're sitting there struggling with And Justice for All and Eye of the Beholder and Black. And I think one of the only reasons Blackened worked was because it was the opening song of the gig every night. Yeah. So it was like, Metallica are here on stage. If we played Blackened, an hour and a half into the set, I don't know if it, we tried doing it in Europe on last May a couple of times. I don't know, so we'll see.
Yeah, but I suppose it's a matter of having a wide perspective of the what happens in the music world or not. When you think of a band like Rush, they went through a period where they were having songs that were once 18 minutes long.
Yeah. Rush is actually, it's funny you say Rush, because Rush is probably the closest example. I was thinking about it the other day about how what we're going through in terms of our heads and how we always like to sort of keep, we'll do something for a couple albums, then we'll do something else. And it's like the closest example to that is probably Rush, how they would just, do something for a while and, just go through all these different phases.
Rush had the first few albums were like short songs.
Right.
Like, you had your first one.
Right.
And then they went through the period where they have 2112 and then
all that shit.
Hemisphere and all that shit that was like 12 minutes, 18 minutes, 2 sides and whatever. And then they went back to more normal stuff, in terms of length. So it's nothing that should shock people.
No. But
the fact that you go back to the 4-minute songs.
Yeah, but you still get all these people that just sit there and that are so afraid. That's one of the things that irritates me most about the music world, is that people are so afraid of maturity or of people. It's like, I mean, I even remember that myself a little bit. It's like when you're a kid, it's like, fuck, Motorhead, yeah, okay, great. It's like, I want Motorhead to put out Ace of Spades every year because it's the best album in the world. But, when you're a kid, you don't sit there and think about that. Maybe that's not what goes on in Lemmy's mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, I've said this from day one. It's like, I'm never going to be a slave to what anybody expects from us, and we don't, as a band, want to do that. It's like, we would be the worst people in the world to go through the motions, because we're probably like the worst liars in the world, because I think people would be able to see through it in like 2 seconds. So it's like, you have to be honest, and what you do, you have to, it has to be an extension of where your head is at, or else you're just gonna, it's just being like cornered by, okay, well, all the kids want us to do, fucking, Metal Militia for the rest of our lives, so we have to do that. I mean, it just wouldn't be right, would it? But a lot of times...
Well, it's good that you're able to afford it, to be able to do whatever you want, this freedom.
Well, yeah, but I think that, that was something that we insisted upon very early. I mean, I think that's, it was like when we first started up, 8-10 years ago or whatever, and here's the first record. I mean, we're always very adamant in interviews about, this is where our heads are at. We always want to do things differently. The jump between Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. I mean, remember when Ride the Lightning came out and people first heard Fates of Black? I mean, obviously most people said, great, they're doing something different, but you always get the fucking, the fucking ballad on the album. It's like, so, you can't please everyone, and obviously we realized that many years ago, and so it's just about pleasing ourselves and being happy.
You pissed a lot of people off by pleasing yourselves through the years?
Well, obviously there's always somebody that you're going to piss off, but the bottom line is, and I think that most people respect the fact...
Not just fans, I'm talking about, people like, ex-managers
pissed a lot of people
or,
off. Well, we bought Johnny Z a house. No, I mean, I don't think Johnny Z should be pissed off about anything.
No, I'm sure he's...
No, I mean...
You've probably been his most successful band ever.
Yeah, exactly.
He does okay with other bands, but...
Well, there's always somebody who you fucking have some kind of attitude problem with or whatever. But I think generally, in terms of the fans, that most of the kids realize that we've always been very adamant about the fact that we wanted to do things our way, and whatever directions our heads would take us, that's where we would go and follow our instincts. And I think most people respect the fact that we're not just, puppets, and kind of slaves to what the public wants from us. So I think generally, like I said, every album there's always somebody, even though we might not have changed much musically or whatever, just say the fact that, oh God, sold 4 million records now or whatever, it's like all over the world. It's like, oh, they're so big now, I don't like them. I don't not like them anymore because I don't like their music, but I don't like them anymore because they're so big. You always get people that have you always get that have that attitude, that have this kind of chip on their shoulder.
I don't know. I suppose you always kept quite low to the ground.
Yeah, I think we've managed to.
You managed to have.
No, I think that's because we've never lied. I mean, we've always been, I think, very, very open and honest about
what they
it.
call integrity, So.
Yeah, just very open and honest about everything that's going on. It's like, I used to be like really embarrassed when we started talking money and stuff, and like it's like, well, I gotta be play money like down, and it's like, I mean, let's be realistic about it. We've sold like 11 million records in the last 8 years. You don't sell 11 million records and don't make like a lot of money and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, let's just be honest about it. And I think that at the end of the day, people kind of, I just guess, respect that honesty and respect just that. This is how we are, and we're very upfront about it, and I think most people just know that there's not a lot of bullshit with Metallica. So,
well, yeah, I suppose, a lot of people make that kind of money, and they just change the attitude.
Well, yeah, as long as you don't flaunt it.
Yeah, as long as you're...
I mean, you can, what we do with the money is that we make sure that, the things that we want to do and the projects we undertake, that we can do them, and it's that we have a total creative freedom, and thankfully, we don't have, like deadlines or financial shortcomings when it comes to making records or any of the other things that we do, touring, or, we're very comfortable on tours. We fly around private planes and all that because it makes us play better. It makes us sleep more. It makes us stay in hotels. It's like all these things. So it's like, at the end of the day, we give it all back into the band or into the show or into whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, in fact, I was talking to some people in San Francisco who live in San Francisco from other bands. They seem to have pointed out that you are still, Metallica still being seen around, and when they're around,
I mean, in San Francisco,
they don't act like superstars, which is
good. I mean, we're just the fucking.
How easily envious other bands can be.
No, I mean, we still hang out the same places we hung out 8 years ago. We still, it's all the same, the Stone and you know, the Omni and all these. I mean, it's all the same places we go to. It's all the same things we do. I still get just as drunk as I did 8 years ago. I still fall over and make a complete idiot of myself like I did 8 years ago, and I still throw up all over the place like I did 8 years ago. And it's like up in San Francisco, it's like, you know, we're just sort of we're just the Metallica idiots, you know, from around the corner. You know, it's like Frisco is cool, but Frisco, I think also, it's just, there's an attitude up there that just, I don't know, there's just something about the atmosphere up there that really keeps your shit intact. I think, you know, being in LA is cool and stuff for a while, but I think I can understand how easy it is to get like lost down here mentally, because there's so much bullshit and so many business people and so much crap going on. And I think it's really mentally refreshing when you go back to San Francisco.
You go back and you
go back. I don't go back as much as I'd like to, because me and James kind of oversee the whole thing between us. So it's like,
so you have to be here all the time.
Basically here all the time, but it's like, it's kind of like you go back to San Francisco for a weekend or whatever. It's like, I can breathe again. You know,
well,
it's
apart
like,
from the fact that it's a bit less smoggy than
but you know what I'm saying. It's like, it's not just the smog. Obviously, I'm talking about. It's the whole atmosphere. Sometimes Los Angeles can become very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And you know, so Frisco is it's really good for you mentally, because it keeps just the whole scene up there and people and stuff. Really,
Los Angeles didn't stop. San Francisco did when there was the premiere on Headbangers Ball or MTV, whatever, of One. I was told that the whole city, well, whoever is into Metallica, just didn't go out, just stayed in waiting for the video.
Really?
On telly.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No. That sounds pretty funny. No, but you know, San Francisco, it's also like, I think San Francisco is a lot more like European in its attitudes, and just it's.
Well, you know, in Europe they stop for a football game.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's a big game on telly, there's not a soul around. You know, Metallica is on telly, they just glued in front of a television.
San Francisco is just, it's healthy for us. I think it keeps our feet on the ground.
Do you think you changed the attitude towards heavy metal videos in a way? Sorry.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I really.
No, you know, because the thing is, like, you know, a lot of people think of Metallica. A lot of bands think of Metallica as the one that opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
True to a certain extent, because you open doors, but if you're to other people, but if these bands are not good enough, the doors close as quick as they open.
Yeah, I think.
But you know, and you know, I'm just trying to project that in terms of videos.
I mean, if anything with videos, I think we certainly proved to a lot of people that videos aren't as much as a necessity as everybody say they are. Or as everybody used to say up through the 80s, you know, that if you don't have videos, you're not going to do anything. I mean, we sold, and Justice for All was almost at 2 million copies before the one thing even came out, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
So, you know, and it was just like, it's very strange for me to talk about videos, because it's very difficult for me to sit here and understand why we didn't do videos earlier, because now that we did the one video and got it out of the system, I really wish that we had fucked around with videos earlier, because it was something that I really enjoyed doing, and it's something, I think there are some of the songs on the earlier albums that could have been, you know, From the Bell Tolls or Master of Puppets or Sanitarium or Fades of Black. I mean, some of those songs could have made some fucking pretty cool videos, but that's the past, and it's like, that was what we were into. We didn't want to be stuck in the same rut as all these other, you know, here's how you're supposed to do things.
Well, also the timing wasn't that.
Yeah, but again, you know,
it
was not something obviously that was planned out or anything. It was just that when the one thing, Peter Mensch came over to Paris, and we played Paris on the Justice for All tour, and he took us into the dressing room and he said, "Look, we got this great idea for a video about, you know, this movie and blah blah blah," and we just sat there and looked at each other and go, "This guy's on fucking glue, right?" And then it's like fucking, you know, slowly just start thinking about it. It's like, well, maybe this would be a pretty cool thing to try out, and we did it, and it was like great, and it was a lot of fun to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I think back on doing the video and editing it and everything about the video, it was like a positive thing, and it's like I just really look forward to fucking around with videos a lot more on this record, and believe me, there'll be.
Well, you sure proved with the other one, with the with that compilation that.
With the
video,
clip of all things.
Yeah, video is not an art.
Definitely.
Like some people try.
Yeah. I think that pretty much went out the fucking window, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's, it was cool. Again, that thing was just like, it was something that came together like so spontaneously, so just, I don't know, it's just weird. Things with us just come they just come together like just out of the blue, and it was just like, in like an afternoon, that whole thing was, we had the whole idea for it like put together in like one afternoon or something, and it was just like, and with that Cliff and Mall thing, and then
that's an accountant's dream.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's very
no
true.
money to get it together. And what, 10, 20 bucks a copy?
Yeah, the hardest thing was actually, convincing, we knew the footage that we wanted because we knew what stuff was available, because I kind of keep in touch with some of these guys and stuff like that, but the hardest thing on that thing was convincing the guys who shot it, the kids in the audience who shot it, that we were actually genuine about what we were doing, and we weren't going to actually just use this video idea as a cheap ploy to get him arrested and put the FBI on him.
Yes.
Because there were especially the guy who shot Master of Puppets, a guy out in New York. He wouldn't give us the tape. He wouldn't let us have the tape because he thought that as soon as he, would give us the tape, we'd come over and arrest him. And it took 2 months for us to convince him that, look, man, we're not interested in arresting you. We just want to get the best generation copy of this fucking thing so we can put it in our fucking video. And, that's basically, that was the hardest thing. I mean, obviously it didn't cost much, but also, I mean, obviously there's been a couple other bands who've kind of adopted the same kind of idea, which, for instance, the Skid Row thing, I think is a really entertaining video.
What, the one of him beating up the guy?
No, the one, what's it called? Say Can You Scream or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's really cool, and I think Slayer's going to do something too with, I don't know, I think it's cool. I really don't think...
Well, it's the, again, what we were talking about before about the being done.
What does your shirt say?
Rockin'
my
Rio.
yeah.
The thing.
Yeah.
Again, it's the being down to earth. You sort of give the fans something, give something back to the fans or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that all sounds well and good.
It's a bit corny.
Because it never really. I mean, believe me, the creative process in this band is it's so weird. It's between me and James, it's we never blow things up to be a big, it's we'll just sit at breakfast one day, and if somebody could listen into when me and James talk to each other, it's do we do this? It's so, he'll look this way, I'll look this way. It's we're sitting, reading the paper, well, should we do a home video of all these clips we have lying around? Yeah, okay. It's that's all there is to it, and it's
that sounds like a big business meeting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's just when people sit there and try and kind of figure out why we do things or how it comes together, I just think people would be really surprised if they really knew how it came together. We're not. I mean, as much as it looks great in print, we're trying to give something back to the fans. It's sure, if that's what you want to write, but you're not going to hear that from me because, with a thing like that, it's not
what I want to write. It's probably how the fans feel.
Probably, yeah.
That they, the kid who gave you the tape.
Yeah.
Is Metallica is going to be his favorite band forever. He'll never forget you for using.
I guess the point I'm trying to say is that it's I think if you sit there and start thinking in those terms about, what can we do for the fans to really like us, then you've already lost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I guess that we're just pretty good at taking that whole thought process and just leaving it somewhere.
No, I don't believe bands think that. I believe that maybe the manager might think that, or the record company might think that.
There are some bands that think that, believe me, because I know.
Well,
especially older bands.
Yes.
Anyway. Not to mention any names.
No, it's not the right place. Lyrics-wise, new album is what? Sorry, but I have to go back to the new album.
Don't worry about it. No, that's what I'm here to talk about. Lyrics-wise, it's less negative. It's a little more. It deals with, the thing is that James had to, always in the past, there's always been 8 songs on a Metallica record, and this time there was 12. In the past, there was 8 songs and 1 was an instrumental, so it's like, James, you have to write 7 sets of lyrics. This time there's 12 songs and 12 sets of lyrics, so it's definitely more scattered. It's less... It's definitely less political. We got that phase out of us with Justice. 12 cool subjects that deal with more than 12 different things. On some of the last couple albums, there was like a lot of the songs were kind of connected to each other, because they dealt with variations on the same subject. And this time around, it's really loose and scattered. It's there's things that go from, I don't know, just it's a little more how like Ride the Lightning was sort of introverted. It's a little more about things that go on in your mind again, and things that are like kind of more personal to James and stuff like that than writing about the justice system or the political this, that, or the other.
Master of Puppets.
The environment or nuclear war or anything. It's a little more self again, and I think that's really cool.
How come the Enter the Sandman has been kept 6 years in the drawer? Enter
Sandman?
Yeah.
Don't you think that sounds stupid? No, it's just. If it just the way it works, like Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman.
It's like we work very much with.
I mean, is it because he was not apt for the kind of albums the last?
No, it was. I mean, you really want to know the truth? It was okay. Here's how it works. Okay, hi James. Here's my list of song titles. Okay, here Lars. Here's my list of song titles. I'll sit and go. Interesting. So we'll have 6 songs maybe written or something. It's like you see 68 titles in front of you. You go, that one. That sounds cool. That one fits. The way that reads or the way that sounds fits the feel of this guitar riff. Okay, so Enter Sandman. What the fuck is Enter Sandman? It's just that's been on. We have these lists that we dig up every 3 years, and that song title has just been on this fucking list for like 6-8 years, like you probably read somewhere. And it's like finally, it's like I always look at it. It's more kind of like James. I'll pick stuff from James's list, and he'll, I'll throw stuff at him, and the stuff that I throw at him, what he grabs onto of my stuff, we'll use, and then the stuff that he throws at me that I grab onto of his, we'll use. So it's like I always looked at, he's always had this thing, Enter Sandman. It's like it never did anything for me, and then finally, like last summer, I go, James, Enter Sandman. What the fuck does that mean? And he told me the whole story about what.
The Kiwi story,
and all that shit, and I go, wow, that's pretty cool. We could make a cool twist out of that. And it's like that's how the whole creative process works.
So what's the twist?
Huh?
So what's the twist? How did you twist it?
We'll see. I'm not gonna sit here and give it all away, but it's like
by the time this comes out, probably the album is gonna be enough.
Well, don't say that too early. But there's just a lot of stuff that it's funny how there's a lot of stuff that that lies around for a while, and then there's stuff.
Hold on. I mean, don't worry. There's not going to be incidents like some of the ones that happened recently.
No. Well, all I'm saying is I don't want to. I think part of the great thing about the way James writes his lyrics is that you sit there and each person that reads these lyrics and listens to these songs make up their own images and figure out their own, get something out of. So if I sit there and go, okay, this is how you should interpret this song, then that's giving it all away. Because I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I interpret it probably different than James does.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you read the lyrics, you would probably interpret it different than I would. And James, that's what I think is the beauty of the way he writes his lyrics, which I don't see anybody else. There are very few people in, I think, in heavy metal or hard rock, whatever, that write lyrics the way James does, because so much is left up to the imagination. You know, when I sit and look at lyrics by, you know, Megadeth or Slayer or whatever, you know, I love the music and stuff like that. I sit and look at the lyrics and I go, this is so direct. This is all written out for me.
Yeah.
There's only one way I can interpret this.
Yeah.
But I think the way James writes his lyrics, it's like, it's, you know, there's so much left to the imagination, and I think that's the beauty of it.
Uh-huh.
So like I said, what I was going to say earlier was that there's a lot of stuff that you know, every 3 years when me and him sit down to write songs, that we'll bring out of the closet, and we'll, you know, there's stuff. There's another song on this album called "Sad But True," which is, that's a thing that's been lying around for about 5 or 6 years too.
Uh-huh.
And it's weird how you depending on, you know, what mood you're in or where your head is at. You know, in 1988, I remember we sat and listened to this "Sad But True" thing, and it was like, man. And now 3 years later, it's one of the strongest cuts on the new album. It's very strange how you're, just where your head is at can just have so much to do with how you interpret your own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, it's got nothing to do with that we can't come up with new ideas or anything like that. It's just, it's got something to do with that you should always go back and check where you were before, because our heads are like in a completely different universe now than they were when we did Injustice for All.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the stuff that we rejected on Injustice for All, it could be like the greatest thing on this new record. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
all the things you reject now could be the next thing.
Exactly.
To albums
yeah,
or
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like you always got to keep an open mind like that, and I think you always got to just, you know, like I said, we just have these boxes of old tapes and old ideas and stuff lying around that we always go back and check over in case there's the idea of life on it that just sounds great now, but did 3 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever.
Are you planning a second compilation of British bands?
Absolutely not. If you can find me, I'm not going to go through that nightmare again.
Why was it a nightmare?
Well, it's easy to sit now and go, you know, this album's out, it's great, I'm really proud of it, blah, blah, blah. But the actual fact of, this is a combination of things, of the whole thing of putting it together.
Yeah.
It was like, here, phonogram, here, you know, 30 bands, 30 songs, go find them. I'm like, I thought that was all I had to do, you know, and then the phone call started. You know, we can't get this band, and we can't get this song, and this guy wants to fucking be on, you know, track 1 side 2 instead of track 3 side 2, and this other band needs photo approval. It's like just this whole can of worms. I'm sitting there going, everybody's gonna really thank me because I'm like doing all this great stuff and putting this album together, and it's like what really threw me was that there was a lot of people from that time period that still had like really big chips on their shoulders and that were like really kind of frustrated.
We don't want to say any names, obviously.
No, I mean, you figure it out yourself.
Angel Witch?
No, Kevin was great. No, just Kevin.
Yeah.
I think
that's fine.
I like Kevin a lot. He's a cool guy. He was very cooperative, but there was just some people that were really, that had like big attitudes about a lot of things, and it was really strange. I thought that, you know, everybody's gonna go, yeah, Lars Ulrich is resurrecting this great time period, and a lot of, you know, the response from all the kids has been great, but from a lot of the people in the band and that who lived that time period to a lot of those musicians wasn't that positive, because it brought back images of failure and records that didn't do very well, and bad management, and, you know, having a band together and a good vibe for going for a couple of years and then failing. So for a lot of these people, which I didn't really think of, this whole time period for me, which is like the golden era of modern heavy rock and metal, was like represented like a period of failure for like a lot of other people.
Trespass.
Yeah, just, you know, a lot of people
say one name.
Yeah, a lot of people just have this really, just not as positive of a way of looking back on this time. So it just turned into like a big headache.
Ugly. Yeah.
No, it just turned into like a big headache, and I, definitely, I think I did what I wanted to do. I took the best songs, and first of all, there aren't really, I don't think, any bands left that. Do you know what I mean? It's like all the songs have.
Doubt it, yeah.
It's there. There you go. This is the cream of this time period, and thank you, and good night, and enjoy it. I'm out of here. It's like I did what I had to do, and it's like I don't want to fucking deal with that again. It just taught me. It's just weird. It just taught me a lot of weird things about the music business. That just kind of.
Psych.
Yeah, just a lot of things. I guess I get kind of spoiled because Metallica is like Metallica has this very, we always get our way. We do everything our way. In the industry and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I'm used to dealing with Peter Mensch and Cliff Bernstein, and everything's great, and I know exactly what's going on. All of a sudden, I'm dealing with like record companies and managers, and it's like, what the fuck? It just was really strange for me, and it was just like it showed me a lot of things about this business that I don't really need to fucking deal with again, that I was just not really happy about finding out. So.
Well, you're lucky enough that you don't have to, you can afford them. What's the song you were mixing before?
That was called...
what's the voice of the kid? Is that part of something you're recording or something?
Oh, yeah, that's something we're going to try and put into Enter Sandman.
Yeah. I thought that when you were talking about it.
Yeah.
That kid must be. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that was well spotted. The one Kurt was doing the solo on earlier, I don't know if you heard when you came in.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, it was one called...
I didn't know it was Kurt's.
Yeah, Don't Tread on Me, which is kind of like, it's kind of a different thing for us. It's kind of like a shuffle tempo, da-dum, 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 which is kind of like a different kind of thing. It's pretty cool. It's really... has this kind of groove to it, which is like really cool. Never really tried playing anything in that kind of tempo before, so it's pretty cool.
Is that kid gonna work out? He didn't sound too
That's
sure.
Bob Rock's son.
Eh?
That was Bob Rock's son.
Is he?
Yeah.
He says, what am I doing wrong?
I know. We'll see. We're gonna try and put it in later and see how it sits.
Yeah.
It's cool, I mean, it might not work, but it might work. This could be
going back to one of the things we were talking about at the beginning, how come you work things so much in advance when you don't know exactly when you're going to finish? I mean, you have all these dates booked in Europe, and I mean...
Well, I mean, there comes a point where it's like, you sit there and you go, okay, this is how long looks like it's taking, this is how long this looks like it's going to take. I mean, obviously there comes a point where you can't, just... the reality of being in a rock band and doing the things that we do, touring and all that shit. I mean, there comes a point where it's like, you can't just wake up one morning and say, okay, the album's done, now what do we do? Oh, okay, let's book a tour. It's like...
No, I know, but it's...
No, I mean, when we got, the thing with AC/DC, that came about that's like 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, that's... those tours are planned so far in advance.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, we sat there and said, sure, August, it was going to be great because we really, for the first time, we actually wanted to start in America. It's like, every time we always go to Europe first and play in Europe, we don't know the new songs, we don't know anything, and it's like, let's start in America this time. Well, the only problem is, it's like in America, you can't, here's your album, and in Europe, you go out on the road the week after your album comes out. But the reality of it in America is that it takes so long to penetrate the whole country with your record that it's like, it's suicide over here to start touring. There are exceptions, fucking Guns N' Roses and stuff, but they can do whatever they want. But it's like, it seemed like it would make most sense to wait, 2 or 3 months, until we start in America to do it properly, So, okay, well, gee, that means that we're going to sit around.
Well, you did it last time, though.
Huh?
You did it last time. You did the Monsters of Rock in the States before the album was out.
Yeah, but we didn't headline that. It's just, you got to understand.
Okay. I get it.
The economy over here and the whole, bands are dying right and left over here, and tours are being canceled, and ticket sales are like all-time lows, and it's just like the economy in America.
Destination on name Deep Purple. Huh?
Oh, yeah, among others, David Lee Roth, Cinderella, everybody.
Is David Lee Roth doing that?
Yes.
You
In
can
one
say.
word, yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not a secret, because I think he'd be the first one to admit that. Cinderella, you know, I mean, everybody's falling, they're falling right and left, you know, and it just, you know, I don't...
Is it them, or is it the
Well,
economy?
you know, it's obviously a combination of a lot of things. That's a good point, but... you know, okay, what I'm trying to get to is that we didn't want to start touring in America just 3 months after the record comes out. So it's like we're stuck with, well, what are we going to do in we don't want to tour Europe till after we've been in America, so what are we going to do? Well, AC/DC just called and asked if we'd come over and play stadiums with them in Europe for 10 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. It's like, of course, we're there, done. Because when you don't have to hit, I mean, supporting is like the coolest thing. It's really, I don't understand what the big deal about, like, everybody says, you know, well, who's going to headline and supporting, and we're not going to support. It's like, supporting is, for me personally, I mean, forget about the money and the prestige. In terms of, like, from when you wake up till you go to bed, do you have more fun on a day when you headline or on a day when you support somebody? You have more fun on a day when you support somebody. That's the reality of it. And it's like...
Because you got less headaches, less responsibilities.
You got less responsibilities and more time. You have... You just, you know, playing an hour and 10, you can go out and just go for an hour and 10. Energy level is like up here, done. You know, when you have to headline, it's like 2.5 hours. You have to break it up. You put some soul. It's the whole thing is just becomes like completely different. When we supported Aerosmith up in Canada last summer, we hadn't like supported anybody for like 2 years since we did that Van Halen thing. We've been headlining for like a year and a half or whatever. It was like, all of a sudden there we were supporting Aerosmith playing like an hour and 10 minutes. It was like, it was the greatest thing. It really was. And just... Well,
probably because you were not playing the long songs.
But just, you know...
Not
like,
as many.
The intensity level of the whole thing was just like... Because you don't have to pace yourself for 2.5 hours. You have to pace yourself for an hour and 10 minutes. It was great. It was really cool. So I look forward to coming over to... I guess we're playing in Modena. Modena, sorry, which I understand John Jackson told me that the next city up from Modena or whatever is where Ferrari is.
Yes.
And Lamborghini is the next city over from that.
Yes, you want to go on a tour?
It's already being arranged.
Because I took Poison last year.
Right.
On the Ferrari trip and the Lamborghini. I got this vibes filtered through about Motley Crue not being 100% happy about being before you on the bill, and I thought it was very childish. What difference does it make? Being special guests or
to me it's like whatever. I mean, you know, we've been playing in Europe for 8 years. We've been, you know, selling a lot more records over there and stuff, and it's like, it's just, you know, a lot of times it can be difficult for bands to, you know, in America, Motley Crue have sold more records than us. Yeah. You know, they had a really big record. Their last record was really big over here. So at the moment, you know, they're a bigger band in America. Fine. Key word being at the moment.
Yes.
So we're right on the
One day we'll see. Huh? Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. I just think it's cool. It's going to be great because I'm sure following a band like Motley Crue is going to hopefully inspire us to play even better. And I'm sure they're going to really get the crowd going. And I'm sure that they're going to do their best to go out and kick us in the
Everybody will leave after Queen's Ride and come back from that.
Well, we'll see what happens. But I think it's a pretty cool bill. I mean, I think it's a pretty cool bill.